Welcome to the Faroes News Report. We've synthesized a stack of the latest reports, focusing on the key facts without any added analysis or speculation.
This is all about delivering the information contained within these sources. We'll be covering politics, elections, infrastructure, energy, and international relations in the North Atlantic.
Right, and we've gathered sources covering the period leading up to Saturday, November 22, 2025.
Our mission is to quickly convey the core information from these reports to you.
We'll start with the news items, then move to the reader opinion letters. So, for the news, we're looking at no supervision over the Danish Navy regarding smuggling.
Then a charge being raised in the municipal election case in Nordic.
After that, electricity price rises next year, and the government gaining new authorities on Russian sanctions.
We also have the Danish Minister of Defense's visit, and some market news Monesto took a beating.
And finally, an interview with John Goodlad titled, "If You Want to Save the World, Eat Fish."
And then for the opinion section, we'll get into the perspectives on the Faroes as a safe haven for Russian ships.
The need for the Faroes to make their own decisions.
The Runavík re-election, for the fourth time.
A critique that the green trend is costly.
And finally, a look at how Sandoy and Suðuroy are becoming competitors.
Okay, let's start with the news. First up is this official answer from Finance Minister Ruth Vang. She was responding to parliamentary questions from Annika Olsen about Danish naval supervision.
Yeah, and the core inquiry was, pretty direct. Who supervises the Danish Navy for smuggling? How often are they even docking in the Faroes?
And have they ever actually been inspected? Have narcotics ever been found? It really drills down into a fundamental issue of oversight.
Exactly.
And the official response? Well, it confirms a long-standing principle of international law. Warships possess immunity.
Right. The term in Faroes is oren, and it's specified in Articles 29 through 32 of UNCLS, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
So what does that mean in practice?
Well, it means that Takshax, that's the Faroes Customs Authority, they generally don't and really can't just board warships, and that includes Danish ones.
So any inspection would require a whole process.
The huge process. High-level consultation with the flag state, the ship's captain, and then direct cooperation with the police. It's not a simple procedure.
And what's really striking here is that Tax confirmed they don't even keep statistics on how often Danish Navy ships docked in the Faroe Islands over the past year.
That lack of data is almost as significant as the legal immunity itself.
Okay, while that's happening on the international front, local democracy is being tested back home. We have two big developments with the municipal election in Runavík.
This has been going on for a while. So first, the Ministry of Justice has officially annulled the municipal election from November 12, 2024.
Over a year ago now.
Exactly. And they've mandated a re-election, which is now set for January 13th, 2026. That year-plus delay really highlights how serious this is.
The whole reason for the annulment is a complaint about possible election fraud at the polling station in Oyndarfjörður.
And that complaint led to an official criminal charge against one person.
This wasn't just any ballot either. The compromise vote was critical. It was the deciding factor for a seat on the municipal council.
That's a crucial point. The sources also clarify that this re-election will use the exact same voter base and the original candidate lists.
And until that's all sorted out,
The current municipal council stays in office until the re-election is done and any potential new complaints are processed.
on the legal side of things.
The police have officially charged an individual for violating Section 116, subsection 1 of the Penal Code, that's specifically for rigging the election result.
Which is treated as a very serious crime. The penalty is imprisonment for up to 6 years.
It's a major breach of democratic integrity.
Okay, shifting from political integrity to, well, economic reality. SEV, the national power company, held an extraordinary general meeting.
And they approved the 2026 budget. The big news for consumers is a 7 Rs per kilowatt-hour price increase for everyone.
The main reason they're giving for this hike is the new oil duty that the Landsstyre, the government, has imposed.
Right. And that duty alone is estimated to cost SEV an additional 60 million Danish kroner next year. That's on top of their regular oil costs.
But it's not just the duty, is it?
No, it's not. The expansion of green energy is hitting some roadblocks. There are delays in the planned wind energy projects in Klevalaksaga and Porkeri.
Which means they have to keep relying on oil.
Exactly. More expensive electricity production using oil instead of cheaper, cleaner wind power.
And on top of that, the price SEV pays for the wind power it buys from Flatnahaga has gone up, and they're expecting Gellingarkletti's rates to do the same.
So if you're a standard household using about 5,000 kilowatt hours a year, this means an extra cost of 37 DKK a month.
And if you've gone all in on the green transition, you have an EV, a heat pump, you're using, say, 10,000 kilowatt a year, your extra cost jumps to 73 DKK a month.
Yeah, but it gets really interesting when you look at industrial customers.
Right, they're facing an overall increase of 11 øre per kilowatt hour. How does that work?
It's a double hit. The new 7-year price hike is coming at the same time as a change to their historical rebate.
This is the 8 øre per kilowatt hour rebate that's been in place since 1992.
That's the one. It's being cut in half. The official reasoning is that because the government imposed the oil duty, it invalidates the original agreement that the rebate was based on.
And the plan is to phase it out completely.
Over the next 2 years, it's another financial pressure point for Faroe's industry.
Okay, now turning to international matters. The government received expanded authority from the Lagting to implement measures against Russia.
And what's interesting here is that despite what the sources describe as apparent opposition during the debate, the proposal was ultimately adopted with a large majority.
So they have more latitude now to apply sanctions or other restrictions.
Yes. And in a related note on defense, the Danish Minister of Defense, Troels Lund Poulsen, was in the Faroe Islands for a visit.
He met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Siri Stenberg.
The discussion was focused on defense policy cooperation, specifically on the Arctic and North Atlantic.
Areas that are repeatedly noted for their increasing strategic importance.
Absolutely. The ministry here emphasized that it's critical for the Faroe Islands to be an active participant in this process to help shape a common understanding of priorities.
And he also visited some local sites.
Yes, he toured the MS Shipyard and the Atlantic Airways Aviation Academy, showing interest in local industry and training.
Let's pivot now to the green economy and the private markets. The share value of Minesto, the Swedish tidal energy company, it dropped.
It dropped significantly, by 1/3 on the stock exchange.
And this happened on the very first day that their newly subscribed shares were traded.
Right. Minesto had issued 82.4 million new shares earlier in the year to raise capital, about 99 million Swedish kronor.
But the concerning number here is that only about 41% of those new shares were actually bought by existing shareholders.
Exactly. The rest had to be taken up by guarantors, who are mostly existing lenders. The sources highlight this as an indicator of the perceived risk around the company's activities.
Okay. And for our final news item, we have a report on the Shetland author and fisheries consultant John Goodlad. He's visiting the Faroes to present his new book.
It's called Food from the Sea, The Future of Seafood. And his core argument is pretty straightforward.
To feed the world's projected 11 billion people by 2050.
We have to shift toward eating sustainably caught fish. It's a necessity.
There's also a political angle to his visit. His daughter, Hannah Mary Goodlad, is with him.
Yeah, and she's a candidate for the Scottish National Party in the upcoming Scottish Parliament election. A big part of her campaign is island autonomy, and she's holding up the Faroes as an example for Shetland's home rule.
Goodlad himself talked about combating what he called fuzzy thinking in politics when it comes to fisheries and quotas.
Meaning simplistic solutions from people who don't have hands-on industry experience.
Yeah.
He also lamented how the travel and cooperation links between Shetland and the Faroes have diminished over time.
He noted the last Shetland sloop fished in Faroes waters way back in 1908.
A long time ago. Okay, that historical note is a good transition to the opinion section, Lazar and Skrivar, which really shows the sharp political divides in the community today.
We'll start with Sverrir Skala's piece. He makes a very forceful argument that the Faroe Islands are becoming a safe haven for banned Russian ships.
Skala's really raising the alarm here. He points to the conflict getting closer to the region, citing attacks near Poland and hybrid attacks on Nordic countries.
And he claims that Russian civilian ships, including the ones docking in the Faroes, are sanctioned because they can be used for things like espionage and sabotage.
But he contrasts this danger with the official findings of the Lagting's Foreign Affairs Committee Majority Report.
Right. And that report states there is, quote, little or nothing to suggest the ships are breaking laws or the fishing agreement.
And hardly any basis for suspicion that the Faroes are being used for transshipment of sanctioned goods.
But Skala's piece then focuses on the minority view in that same committee, represented by Jenna Sorana.
And that minority view is crucial. They argue that because of the current limited control capacity, the authorities simply cannot rule out illegal activity.
It's the difference between we haven't found evidence and we can't actually verify that it's safe.
Precisely. And Scal concludes that Russia's threat of consequences to the fishing cooperation is just a way to make sure these ships keep their access to a NATO country with what he calls very weak supervision and weak politicians.
Okay, so countering that security-first argument is Finn Etoft, a member of the Klaksvíkar Bureau.
Yes, from the Geopolitical party. He argues for using these new foreign policy powers very cautiously and for prioritizing Faroe's interests first, specifically the local economy and welfare.
He says that imposing bans based on unfounded risk is irresponsible.
Especially, he argues, when the Foreign Affairs Committee majority found hardly any basis for suspicion, and the surveillance systems haven't reported any breaches.
He brings it down to the local level, emphasizing the direct impact on the North Faroes, the Norðoyjar.
Where jobs and businesses are heavily reliant on cooperation in the Barents Sea and the fish exports that come from it.
And he treats the warning from the Russian consulate that cooperation and exports could stop if sanctions are brought in as a verified fact, not speculation.
Yes, that really elevates the economic risk for him. He basically asks why the Faroes should damage their own economy more than the EU or Norway, who both still trade food with Russia.
He makes the point that food products are explicitly exempt from sanctions anyway.
Right. His call is for decisions based on facts, not what he calls fear and impulse-driven politics. It's a very clear tension between security alignment and economic survival.
Okay, let's move back to the local election integrity issue. Ivan Jacobson writes in with some context and sharp criticism of the Runavík election annulment.
Jacobson's argument is that a re-election was necessary simply because the votes were left unsupervised for hours. For him, that alone compromises the integrity of the result, regardless of whether fraud was proven.
He also notes this isn't the first time this has happened. There have been 3 previous re-elections.
And he says those were due to clumsiness, not fraud. But his point is about the non-negotiable need for security in a democratic process.
He's also very critical of the mayor of Runavík.
He alleges the mayor confirmed the election result back in November 2024, even though there was this cloud of suspicion, and claims the mayor didn't do enough to review the case properly.
And he ends with a personal disclosure.
Yes, he reveals he was the one who first reported the issue in Oyndar even before the official complaint was filed.
All right, now for a critique of the green transition's cost. Brander Sandoy offers a detailed financial look at the impact on SEV.
And the numbers he uses are pretty stark. He says SEV's debt has grown from 830 million DKK in 2015 to over 2 billion DKK today.
2,060 million, to be exact.
And with that debt, the annual interest payments have just exploded from 11 million DKK to 80 million DKK.
He argues these costs, including the new price hike, hit the most financially vulnerable people the hardest.
His piece then shifts from finance to the environment. He expresses very strong opposition to the planned wind farm at Kleivaloksaga on Sandoy.
He calls it a uniquely beautiful natural area and says it hosts the largest bird life population in the Faroes.
He's very specific, too. He notes the site is less than a kilometer from the largest guillemot habitat in the entire Nordic region.
And he cites studies showing an 80 to 90% reduction in guillemot populations near offshore wind farms in the North Sea. It's a direct challenge to the project's green credentials.
He also questions SEV's financial strategy, asking why they're investing what he calls a $250 million DKK in stations and batteries on Sandoy before they even have the final permits for the wind farm itself.
So what's the solution?
He calls for abandoning the aggressive 2030 green target and aiming for 2050 instead, which would be less costly and, he implies, less risky.
Okay, for our final opinion piece, we turn to infrastructure with Samuel Matras Christensen, a sociologist who specializes in urban planning.
He's looking at the competitive effects of these massive subsea tunnel projects.
And he's challenging the common assumption that the new tunnel to Suðuroy will automatically bring the same population boom that the Sandoyar tunnel did for Sandoy.
Right. He argues it's not that simple. He says Sandoy and Suðuroy will actually become direct competitors for people looking for a place to live.
And the key difference is time.
It's all about distance and time. Sandoy is about 20 minutes from Tórshavn. Travel times from Suðuroy, even with a tunnel, will be somewhere between 50 and 80 minutes.
He insists that even a few minutes makes a huge difference in regional competition.
A huge difference. He argues that because the best jobs are centralizing around Tórshavn, Suðuroy might still be too far for daily commuting.
So it risks becoming more of a weekend or holiday destination.
Exactly. People might move north for work, even if the tunnel helps local businesses on Suðuroy?
His conclusion, then, is that if the goal is to boost Suðuroy's population, not just its businesses.
Then the absolute shortest possible tunnel route must be chosen. Every kilometer, every minute matters.
So we've covered a really wide range of news and political discourse here, from defense and election integrity to energy costs and this fierce infrastructure competition.
We hope this report has efficiently updated you on the latest facts and political currents shaping the Faroes, providing the necessary context directly from the sources.
Like and subscribe to Palsfundamentals for more content like this. Sources linked below.